It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch.
Slow morning would be a little more accurate.
I got to imagine, if we had real-time ratings, we might actually be in the negative listeners right now, because there was a lot of people still in the pits when I left at 2 a.m. 6 hours ago.
The problem is you could have left before midnight.
I'm not complaining about me. I'm just saying, common sense tells you there's not a lot of people listening right now. And the poor people that have to work this thing, the Dirt on Dirt guys, like I just saw a post from Ben Shelton that he had a 6:30 a.m. flight to Memphis. I realize you want to get home to your wife. 6:30 after working that long, it's forget about it. But anyways,
well, you don't do a lot of traveling and haven't done as far as airlines because you vacation in the winter.
Yeah.
When you're in storm season like this, and all my NASCAR flights, I was always out of here by 6:30 in the morning, just so you don't take the chance of leaving with the thunderstorms in the afternoon.
Did you just take a nap before? I mean, that's what I just...
I took a nap on the plane, dude. Not before. I waited and got through the airport, and I got to where I could just turn the lights out when I got on that plane.
What a glorious last few days for the racing community it's been. I want to kick it off on Wednesday with the Dirt Derby at Eldora. And once again, all day Thursday, the conversation was how great dirt is over NASCAR, and which I just get a chuckle out of because people like Tom Latham, who I do respect, would love to chime in about how much better dirt was than any other truck race he's seen. And I wanted to comment and say, but Tom, you're a self-proclaimed hater of NASCAR and you don't watch it. So how would your opinion matter? But anyways, it was great to watch the trucks on dirt. And then the conversation got started. How long till the Xfinity and the Cup Series hits dirt? When are they going to get it done? Yada, yada, yada. Which I'm still in the area of I don't think it's ever going to happen. I would be surprised if I ever see the Cup Series on dirt.
The Cup Series coming back to dirt will surprise me just because they want to run such a big race. The Xfinity Series could be on. I mean, the trucks came onto dirt, so I think the Xfinity Series might end up at Eldora sooner than later.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Xfinity Series has a very, very similar engine to the Truck Series.
Well, they had to restrict the engines just like they do in the Truck Series, and believe me, this started about 17, 18 years ago. I was down 1 year in Daytona, I think it was 2002, and the trucks were like a half a mile an hour slower than the Cup cars, and Xfinity cars and then the Busch cars were several mile an hour slower, so they took and restricted the trucks at that point because they couldn't have them running up with the speeds of the Cup cars, even though everybody realizes that the truck is so big and punches such a big hole in the air. When they start drafting, the draft will really fly.
But the horsepower would be similar. And the reason why I bring that up is because...
About 200 horsepower difference.
Okay, and Kyle Larson, who you would expect would be the champion of this. He would be the one screaming from the rooftops, let's put the Cup Series on dirt.
Him and Carl.
And he was on the opposite end of it. And he said, no, until we get an absolutely perfect tire, it would not be that fun to watch because there'd be a lot of wasted horsepower.
Well, and I mean, when you turn around and you go to a race like last night with the Silver Dollar Nationals, their tire is much bigger than what a Cup tire is. The car weighs 1,000 pounds less. You put those two together on dirt, and of course it's going to make for some decent racing because the cars are going to be, everybody's in the same boat. They're all on the same track. But the cars are going to be so much slower.
But a great race. We got to watch a great race on Wednesday.
Between Wednesday and Thursday, I saw 4 fantastic races.
Thursday took the cake, Thursday took the cake for
I've
me
never
for
been
the,
to
for the Go 50.
I've never been to a dirt race with 3 features, and all 3 features were fantastic.
But the conversation will continue. We've seen reports that NASCAR is strongly considering figuring out a race for the Xfinity Series or adding a second truck race. And it sounds like the leading candidate is going to be the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway, which makes sense. And I know I did my usual poke the bear with Joe Koziski and say, so Joe, how long till we get a truck series race? Oh, Dan, and I think that facility, I think what they did this weekend absolutely proves that they could handle the level that a NASCAR truck series would bring, but the capacity is always the issue. They can only fit about 4,000 to 5,000, maybe 6,000 people in the grandstands.
I don't even know if they fit 6,000, to be honest with you. But
not fully seated, no.
I talked to Bob Pierce Sr. before the feature started last night, and he was very impressed with the way the whole show went over for the weekend, and he's never been there, but he's known the Koziski family for a long time through his racing career, but he said they did a fantastic job. Everybody, again, was complimentary on the racetrack, for racing for 3 days and having such a great track to run that 80-lap feature on. The boys did a great job.
Absolutely. Oh, and we got to say a big thank you to Joe's Karting for bringing us the show today. As always, the title sponsor of the front stretch is Joe's Karting. Fast-paced white racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today. And today's live show brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales, which we will get you a front stretch deal of the weekend coming up in between turns 2 and 3.
And you can locate them at archpurdue.com. You can check out their complete inventory. They're at 14227 S Street, just across the west side of Millard Avenue from the Amazing Pizza Machine. You can reach them by phone at 402-891-1100. They are the home of the $140 a month payment.
So we will recap the Silver Dollar Nationals. We'll talk about the thing that happened on I don't think there was anybody in the dirt racing community that didn't know what happened on Thursday night. We'll talk a little bit about Friday getting set up for Saturday night, and then Saturday night's features how they rolled out or how they finished in the great racing action. Turn number 2, we will sit down with Bobby Pierce. Now, I sat down with Bobby on Friday, and we talked about his the weird news that came out about his
tire.
Taking a lie detector test to reduce. It was just so weird. So we talked a little bit about that, the deal that went on with the Dirt Cars series, and his bad luck. And I thought maybe the interview was going to be obsolete for a little bit last night, and then it became ever more relevant. And you'll hear about that in turn 2. We'll recap it in turn 1. You'll hear Bobby in turn 2. Talk about the trucks on dirt and a couple of the NASCAR news and notes in turn 3, and then we'll preview today's race at New Hampshire and talk about a couple of big key points coming up in the next couple of weeks for the front stretch. That's today's show.
Speaking about New Hampshire, I heard I got to watch some of the Xfinity race, but I had to leave before it was over. Mm-hmm. But I guess the ending of that was pretty good between Christopher Bell held off Brad Keselowski. And Brad, I know, had won the second stage. I missed the actual finish of the first stage, so I don't know who won it. But Brad looked like he had the car to beat. So the fact that Christopher Bell held him off must have been some pretty good race at the
Absolutely. End. And Brad must have only had 3 wheels on or something, because it's pretty hard for anybody to beat Brad Keselowski when he smells the lead in the Xfinity Series.
Taking on the youngster, he might not have ruffled his feathers too much.
All right, let's talk about what happened at the Silver Dollar Nationals. Now, we've been talking about it for a while now because of the Go 50 that was originally scheduled for back in May. I believe it was May 26th. I can't remember the exact date. May 20th, 26th, something like that. The rain out, and the Koziskis said, let's put the Go 50 on the Thursday of the Silver Dollar Nationals, and let's make it a little bit of a bigger event. And immediately I thought, I hate that idea, because I think it kind of diminished the Saturday night feature, because that was the big event, that was your Lucas Oil feature. And that's what everyone comes for, is to watch the Lucas Oil boys race for that big paycheck. Adding the Thursday night event, I kind of felt like maybe it was going to diminish the Saturday night event. And I didn't like seeing the Nebraska 360s get removed from the schedule, because I think they've been a tradition of the Silver Dollar Nationals for a couple of years. But I'm not the one running the track. And I think after we saw what happened this weekend, there's a reason why I'm not the one that runs the track. I'm not the one making that call.
You're trying to sell beer and popcorn, and you were doing a pretty good job of it, by the way.
Thank you. That's all I got to do all weekend, and I'm not complaining at all. But I got to be a cornhole official, so that was the beginning of it all. Yeah. There you go. Craig, I'll tell you about that story.
You got to watch the cornholers.
But anyways, so it worked out so well that, is tradition with Joe Koziski, and during intermission of the Saturday night of the Silver Dollar Nationals, he usually makes some big announcement for next year's Silver Dollar Nationals. And I was so wrong in my disagreement with adding the Go 50 to the Thursday night that Joe decided we're going to do it permanently. But we're not only going to do it permanently, we're going to add $2,000 to the purse to win. So now the Malvern Bank Go 50 will be a permanent fixture to kick off the Silver Dollar Nationals every year that the Silver Dollar Nationals is a thing at I-80 Speedway. This year, the 2019 is going to pay $12,000 to win. And I think that a lot of the drivers, the reason why the Malvern Bank Go 50 is a thing is because all of the Lucas Oil guys told Joe and Steve, you have got to bring us back for a second show. I don't think they meant the same weekend. But, as it always happens, Joe and Steve took into consideration what the drivers were asking them, and then this happenstance to where the race got rained out. They made the best of a bad situation. They ended up getting a phenomenal Thursday night race. I mean, not just a finish, but a phenomenal race. A phenomenal 3 races, and they've said, all right, we're going to give it to the fans because it was a massive weekend for those guys. The ticket sales were through the roof. Absolutely exactly everything they needed to have happen. And when you get a big race like this, you pay out $340,000 in total purse. Those grandstands, those pits, and those backstretch pits and camper sites have got to be packed to pay for every penny of the payout.
Well, I was impressed when I drove in Thursday night and saw all the campers. Mm-hmm. That was that I think was the most campers I've seen there. Because they had the campers kind of in the back pits there, so much so that they had to make another section of back pits to put the modifieds in. The campers out south of the go-kart track was just jam-packed. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the stands on Thursday weren't jam-packed like Saturday, but still a great crowd.
It was the best Thursday that the Silver Dollar Nationals has ever had, which I totally understand. I mean, now everyone wants to come and see the big boys, the Lucas Oil Boys race. The Malvern Bank Super Late Model guys get to have their time in the limelight a little bit, and they didn't disappoint. Unsanctioned Modifieds got to do this. It was a great deal for everybody all around.
Well, anybody who was there saw fantastic racing the whole night.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, literally, James Essex was sitting in the booth, and before he came on to start talking about his Lucas Oil feature coming up and starting lineup for the Go 50, he off the mic goes, I don't know how the heck these guys are going to pass up what we've just seen for the first 2 races of the night. And it looked like Bloomquist was going to run away with this thing. And then all of a sudden a caution comes out, and we got to see a 12-lap shootout between 2 old gunslingers, Davenport and Bloomquist, just going back and forth. And you could see the strategy in Bloomquist. I think he was hanging back because he knew he could beat Davenport on 1 lap.
Well,
I don't think he could have stayed in front of him once he got around him, but I think he felt like he could have the advantage coming out of 4 and win the race.
Well, if Davenport hadn't jumped the cushion in 4, the race wouldn't have ended like it did. But Bloomquist, led the first half of the race, got a caution, got beat out of the hole after that on that restart, and was in second for a couple laps, but got back by in the lead and was starting to walk again. His tires came back in. Then they got that caution with 13 laps to go, I believe, out of the 50-lap feature. And Davenport jumped on him on the high side, and Scott was running where he always seems to run at I-80, middle bottom. Mm-hmm. And but it looked like his tires just weren't coming back. Well, Davenport got out to several cars, and then Bloomquist reeled him in. And then it was like, he said, I don't quite have the tires to go yet. So he let him go a couple car lengths and reeled him in again and still couldn't get by him. He got next to him, but just couldn't get by him. Then he let him cool off again, and then he gave him the big run at the end, like I said. And Davenport hurt him, and he made the mistake in turn 4 and lost 3 or 4 car lengths. And, I mean, that made for a .015 finish gap at the end, basically a foot. Mm-hmm. I mean, 2 cars side by side running hard. They didn't touch each other. They just ran hard to the finish line.
It was clean. I mean, they raced clean. They raced great. It was what a great way to leave such an amazing taste for great racing action. And you came back on Friday, had the qualifying action, and what I really enjoyed, the dual heats for the Lucas Oil late models, and passing points establishes the starting positions for Saturday night's features. USMTS, same thing, but then they also have a feature that night. And then we come back on Saturday. Last chance qualifiers, the Albelt Bash. And off the top of my head, I'll have to look through the results real quick. But the standings for that one and the whole kind of deal with that is that you can take the payday, or you can cash in the check. If you finish the first, second, or third, you could take the payday. And if you don't take the payday, you could take the starting position at the back of the field for the Silver Dollar Nationals. And Tim McCready was one of them. Corey Zeitner was one. I believe he finished second. He was looking at a $2,500 payday, and he started to say, I think we're going to take the cash. And Ben Shelton, I love the guy for doing it, pulls it back and he says, now hold on. Crowd, what should he do? And of course the crowd starts yelling, and then his dad Leon leans in and goes, you're starting the race.
That's not his dad Leon. That's Uncle Leon. So if that's who it was, I didn't see that. So, because I was on the back stretch.
I'm sorry, I said Corey. It was Justin.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is Dad Leon.
That is Dad Leon. Yes.
But anyways, and one of the best ones. So Ben puts the microphone back, says, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I was going to take the money, but the crowd and Dad just told me that we're going to take the starting position." And so Ben goes and interviews Dad. He goes, and Leon says, "We don't need the money that bad. We're starting the race." So, and then Dave Eckrich, also who finished third in that Albelt Builders Bash last chance qualifier, ended up taking the starting position also. And like I mentioned, I couldn't remember exactly, but Tim McCready was the one that won that race.
Correct.
And it ended up taking the starting position.
Now, I was personally disappointed after the local guys showing on Thursday night. We had Andrew Kaziski made the field by driving past Bobby Pierce in the heat race.
Yeah, that's what I was most impressed with was, well, first off, Bobby struggled Thursday and Friday at I-80. Could not get a handle on that track. And the fact that Andrew was able to pass him clean and green, no jump, no great restart, no strategy, no lap traffic. It was clean and green. Andrew got right by him and qualified for the feature was just something that really impressed me about Andrew right now.
And then Ben Schaller also made the feature. He ran a very good heat race.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a little beat up in the feature. You know, Ben had last year in the Silver Dollars, Ben was our top local finisher.
Yeah, and again, this is Thursday night's action.
Right, then the Go 50. And but when it came around to Friday night, I didn't go. I heard Andrew had some trouble and got into the wall and broke some stuff, so he didn't even come back for Saturday. Did Ben even race?
Mm-mm.
Ben Schaller didn't race?
No, he packed up too. I'd heard that he hurt his engine.
Okay, well, that would be a perfect excuse not to run.
Yep.
You know, like I said, he has definitely has the skills to run with the guys for 80 laps. He proved that last year. So I was, like I said, I walked through the pits and I didn't see the car, so I didn't have a chance to talk to him, so I didn't know what happened.
This is going to be a complete shocker. So anybody that is listening, please make sure you're sitting down. Saturday night's feature for the USMTS Modifieds. Starting on the pole, the guy who had won, I know, you're sitting. You're good. It's okay, Dirk. Started on the pole. He had won 7 of the last 9 trips to I-80 Speedway for the Silver Dollar Nationals, and that was Rodney Sanders. I don't think anybody else smelled the lead, did they? I mean,
no.
Maybe on the warm-up laps, maybe on the parade laps, somebody edged a nose in front of him, but that might have been it. There was no official laps led by anybody else, and Rodney Sanders ends up going home and winning his 8th Silver Dollar Nationals feature at I-80 Speedway, and we caught up with him at his hauler after the race. Well, standing in the hauler of the number 20 of Rodney Sanders, it seems like deja vu. We have a Silver Dollar Nationals, and then we sit and talk to you for a little bit.
Yeah, this has been a good place for me. We kind of got lucky and drew the pole there. We had a good car, but it definitely helped starting on the front. So, we'll take it. So, yeah, I just like this place. It's always been one of my favorite tracks. So, it's just awesome.
I know Happy Texas is a little bit of a haul when we do other events, but how come you don't come race out here more often with as dominant as you are?
Well, you guys a lot of times run IMCA, and I don't have any IMCA stuff, so my car's a little bit different on that. So we just kind of run when USMTS comes, but yeah, I love this place.
I mean, when you start on the pole, do you pretty much just kind of sit back and go, all right, here we go, 40 laps. This will be fun.
I was just trying to ride. I mean, I didn't know if the top would be up there or not, but I knew I didn't want to run up there the whole race, just being it's kind of harder on stuff. So I was just trying to, keep my speed up and just kind of roll through that bottom there. There's a lot of mud down there, so I was just trying to stay in that. And I didn't know there at the end where them other guys were running, but I was just trying to keep my speed up and just have something there at the end.
Any worries on tires throughout the 40 laps, or did you know you were in pretty good shape there?
No, tires was never an issue. I mean, there's enough traction in the track that I mean, if anything, they might be chunked out just a little, but that was never really a concern here.
Yeah, a couple of late model guys were worried about blistering their tires with it being an 80-lap feature, but with it being 40 for you guys and probably a little bit different of a compound, you were probably sitting pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we ran before them too, so the track had a little more grip. So, yeah, it was. Their race was for sure. I mean, I don't think none of them were going to blow out or anything, but I'm sure a lot of them guys were blistered up, being just the speed and the goes from slick to traction and that cushion up there. So, yeah, we were never. I wasn't really ever worried about that.
Ran a radar gun off of turn 3 tonight down the back straightaway. Any idea what you were doing?
I don't know. I'd say 90, 95, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly what we were.
That would have got you the back of the consi somewhere. So you're up 103, 104 area.
Okay. That's pretty cool. I'm sure late model are probably about 20, 30 mile an hour faster than that, but
15.
Okay. Yeah, it's I know it's a fast place for sure, but it's real wide and you can usually race all over it.
Kind of a weird question. We know that winning 8 Silver Dollar National features out of 10. Is there anything about I-80 you don't like?
The heat sometimes, but it was nice this year. I mean, it's usually miserable here, but it was good all weekend. So no complaints from me.
Yeah, people usually go north to get away from the heat. You usually go back south to get away from the heat when it comes to the July, right?
Yeah, we just like to go south in the winter.
All right.
Hanging out in Minnesota at all? You still garaging up there for any of your stuff, or?
Yeah, we're working out of a guy's shop over by Rochester right now. Just kind of rest of the year and then head back down to Texas this winter and regroup and go again.
Rodney Sanders brings home another $8,000 check from the Silver Dollar Nationals, 8 out of 10. Suppose we're just going to go ahead and cash 9 out of 11 next year?
No, I feel very fortunate to have what we got. So it's kind of humbling for sure. But I know it could go south in a hurry. So we're gonna just take it while we can.
All right, good job, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Incredibly humble guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I do enjoy talking to him, and maybe one of these times we can talk to him a little bit more in depth because I don't think we ever sat down and really had a conversation with him other than a couple of minutes after the race.
No, we had him on 3 years ago, I believe, before the Silver Dollars.
Mm-hmm. Oh, to preview
we had him and Scott on. That was a show one weekend, and turns 2 and 3.
Heck of a show.
Oh yeah, it was a good show, and
that
was.
Thought I'd remember it.
I went down.
Jesus, are we still in turn 1? Okay, we got to get moving now. We're halfway into the show, and we haven't even finished turn 1 yet.
Yeah, I went down and introduced myself to Rodney when he came into town. Like I have a tendency to do when we talk to guys like Josh Richards and stuff. You always disappear and go judge cornhole contests. Mm-hmm. But I always go and make sure we get at least one ugly face in front of the people.
All right, and then we get to the late model feature, and we were just while we were listening to Rodney's interview, we were going through the local winners, the local top finishers. Highest finishing local driver that I can see, and I always do reserve the right to be wrong. Atlantic, Iowa's Jason O'Brien came home 18th. Kyle Burke 20th, Matt Bowler 22nd, Corey Zeitner 23rd, Tad Pospischel 25th, J.C. Wyman 26th, and Justin Zeitner 28th. That looks like a pretty thick field of local drivers for the feature on Saturday night for the Lucas Oil guys.
Where'd you say Kyle Burke ended up?
20th.
20th, okay. But, I mean, we had a good, 6 guys?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, almost a fifth of the field, so about 20% of the drivers. So that part was okay, but it just nobody really made the showing that like Ben Schaller did last year. Ben Schaller kind of put himself on the map with that race last year.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get down to the top 3. Your third place finisher, we sat down with the Newport Nightmare Jimmy Owens to talk about his race. Talking about third place finisher Jimmy Owens. And Jimmy, the big conversation of the night for a lot of these guys coming into it was the way the tires were going to wear. Did yours wear the way that a lot of people were worried about it?
Our tires were really, really great. And like I said, we took took our time the first half of the race and wanted to be there toward the end as best we could. And once we got up on the wheel and started running, I mean, the car just kept getting better and better and better the longer we ran. And I was really concerned about a right rear tire just by what other people were saying, but the track seemed like it was just slow enough not to really damage the tires. And because it's like there's a mediocre there. When the track's kind of fast, it'll grip the tires and it'll rip them and tear them and cause them to blister. But I think we were just slow enough tonight not to do that.
With 2 to go under that final caution, Scott Bloomquist ended up coming in and getting 2 fresh tires. Was there any consideration under your helmet to do the same thing?
No, it was 2 to go. He obviously thought it was a 100-lapper because there wasn't nothing going to happen from that. And no, we were good where we was at. I really actually thought we had a shot at winning if we could have got a good takeoff there. And the 7 kind of slid up in front of us, just kind of protecting his line. He did a good job, and, we came home third.
Did you notice a big difference between the top and the bottom lines?
Yeah, the bottom line was really good, and the top line was good also. And what I was happy about my car is I could run the top, and then when I needed to go down there to pass someone, I could go down low and pull the pass off.
I'd love this. No, I'm not going to get in 2 new tires with 2 laps to go. I asked Scott about it later that night. I asked him because he kept saying there was something broke in his car, and I said, "Did you come down to see if something was broke, or was your intention to get 2 fresh tires?" And he said a little of both. I wanted to check and see if there was something broke, and the 2 fresh tires couldn't have hurt, and he only fell back 1 spot, so it really wasn't that big of a deal to come down. But I think it caught a couple of guys off guard of.
I wish I would have had that auto time radar gun because I was standing up on top of one of those stands there in the front, and he probably was clicking about 80 miles an hour coming down pit road. He was hustling.
Oh, he was, absolutely. Second place, Ricky Weise. I think he was the dark horse of the night. I try to follow this stuff as much as I can, but I'd never heard of this kid out of Canada. And he had a very good Thursday, very good Friday, and ends up taking home a $20,000 payday on Saturday night for the feature.
Ricky was the one that got into it back, I believe it was in Arizona with Bobby Pierce.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's got he won a couple races down there over the winter, and but him and Pierce got into it one night, and he ended up getting his car beat up pretty good, and that's the night that Bobby's sister got YouTube famous.
I see. And by the way, Ricky references parking next to one of the smartest guys in the business, and he's talking about Scott Bloomquist. He races the same chassis as Scott. So here's Ricky Weise in second place. Well, we're talking with second-place finisher Ricky Weise. Man, I think you were the crowd favorite. Even though there's obviously a lot of Superman fans and Bloomquist fans, I think you were the underdog everyone wanted to win.
Yeah, underdogs, a bit of, I mean, that's kind of cool to, we're just happy to make the show. Never mind, we figured top 10, top 5. I mean, when we were starting 5th, I figured, well, if we can hold this, I'll be ecstatic. And just to run up there with Scott and actually be able to pass him for a little bit, and I knew he'd be coming back. He'd stay with me, and it was just cool. I mean, we got no damage, and now we can go home and just tweak on this thing, and next one, Cedar Lake. So
it seemed like a little bit of an issue trying to get around the 1 as he was a lap car, or you were trying to put him a lap down, and that seemed to have killed your momentum, allowed Scott to catch back up to you.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like he was moving around a little bit, and as I was catching him, and then Bronson went up, and he actually pulled away a little bit, but he was banging off the wall, and I just didn't want to take that chance, so I just started rolling the middle, and Josh seemed to get a little more comfortable and started to pull away a little bit, and I knew I could see my crew guy telling me he was coming, and which as soon as he got by me, I just kind of let him set the pace and followed him a little bit, and then when Bronson went up in the wall, it was kind of everybody bunched back up and had to restart again.
Well, the lap traffic went about 4 or 5 cars wide sometime. It just had to be a nightmare off and on.
Yeah, it was. I could roll the center in 3 and 4 pretty good. I could roll the bottom 1 and 2 if I didn't hit the bump and upset the car. And most of the guys I could drive in deeper because I knew the car would turn and get them that way. But like you said, Josh, I had a hard time getting around him, but didn't have to cause any damage or nothing like that. So we're just still just ecstatic. Can't thank my guys enough.
Any questions at all on the tires?
I got probably the smartest guy pitted beside me with tires, and I helped him out in Florida, so he gave me some tips, and just been asking him here and there, and just everything he tells me, just file it in my brain and try to put it towards my own stuff, and it seemed to be working because our tire looked pretty good. So.
All right, Ricky Weise brings it home in second place. Good job, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
It was a good race watching him, and he was very clean and smooth. I think he had a solid car, but nobody had really anything for Johnathan Davenport once Johnathan decided it's go time.
Well, and, you know, he wouldn't have been where he was. I mean, like I asked him there right before we got the interview with him, you know, so every once in a while it's good to win one through the back door because he wasn't the race winner. Bobby Pierce was the race winner. But that monkey jumped back up, and that bad luck that you talked to him about just reared its ugly head and took a big old bite out of him with the lead. So
here is Superman Johnathan Davenport after picking up the win. His second win in the Silver Dollar Nationals, becomes the second person to win 2 Silver Dollar Nationals titles. Well, in victory lane with Johnathan Davenport, and halfway through that race, did you think you'd be standing here?
I didn't really know. I was waiting on that caution. You know, I knew I had a really good hot rod. We took off there at the first, and I could predict where I wanted to be. So I drove up to second there pretty quick and just toyed with Scott there a little bit. And then I went ahead and just went into conserve mode because we've been hurting tires all week. And so I just rode. And I was hoping there was going to be a caution at the end, or I was going to have to throw my glove out the window or something, you know, just as much as I conserve tires. But everything worked out just right for us. And I hate it for Bobby. I really do. I know they've been having a lot of motor issues here lately. And then to be leading and hurt a motor, I mean, that's just a double-edged sword there. That's got to hurt twice as worse. So, but just hate it for him, but his misfortune was our fortune.
You got to capitalize when the opportunity comes up. Looks like you got a couple of scrapes on that fender and that rear spoiler. Got a little close to the wall every once in a while.
Yeah, it's fine. $53,000. We can buy a couple quarter panels. Ain't no big deal.
But not only $53,000, but probably one of the best finishes that we've seen at I-80 Speedway on Thursday night between you and Scott, coming down to .015. It's a $63,000 weekend for you guys. Could you have asked for anything more?
No, not at all. You know, you couldn't script that any better than how it worked out. That was a hell of a show for us and for the fans. So, you know, that's just hats off to I-80 Speedway and all their track staff that they have this thing right on point every time we show up, and it's a pleasure to race here.
I don't know if they told you, if you heard the news, but the Thursday night Go 50 that was rescheduled because of the rain out in May, it's now going to be a permanent addition to the Thursday night kickoff for the Silver Dollar Nationals.
Oh, that's definitely awesome. You know, we love racing here, so hell, I don't care if we race here for a whole week.
Well, you say that, and the Kaziskis are going to find a way to make it happen.
I hope so.
A lot of people would love to see that happen. And wouldn't that be fun to see a 5-night race with the Lucas Oil late models?
Why not 7? If we're going to go 5, let's just go the whole
week.
Let's
just go big. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We're going to sit down with Bobby Pierce, talk to him on Friday about his penalties, the way that they got the penalties reduced, his bad luck, and his plans for the future. We'll be back here on the Front Stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Sitting in the hauler of the 32, the smooth operator of Bobby Pierce. We got to talk to you a couple of months ago back in May as we were getting set for the original date for the Go 50 and kind of getting your idea of the track. So I wanted to talk to you. We're sitting in your trailer on Friday after the Thursday night Go 50, the rescheduled one on Thursday night of the Silver Dollar Nationals weekend. But kind of, you didn't get a lot of laps to kind of figure out your car and figure out the track.
Yeah, you know, when we broke the other night in the feature, we were about 8 laps in the race, and I really wanted to run all 50 of those laps because this place is pretty tricky. Kind of reminds me of the first time I ran, like, Florence Speedway. You know, it took me a few years before I really got the hang of that place, and now, well, I won the North-South there, but this place is definitely a really fun track, and if we can get the car figured out a little bit better and you know, just me figure out the track better, you know, making these laps is really crucial to you. And tonight, you know, we get 2 sets of heat races, so that'll help me out a lot. Hopefully we can pass some cars. I think I'll be starting about mid-pack of the heats with the number I drew. And with these passing points, you got to get going and pass cars quick because, heck, these heat races are probably only 10 or 12 laps or so. So, really, though, if we can just get a good run tonight, hopefully make the feature already, get ourselves locked in, and go from there tomorrow. Like I said, this place is really fun. I've always been looking forward to coming to this place. Just after watching the videos, it looks so racy, and it's a fast track with bank, and you can put it up on the cushion or you can put it down low by the guardrail, and seems like it works in both spots. So that's, as a driver, you want to go to these places that you can race around. It always sucks going to tracks that are one lane, and qualifying means the most. But here, I think we can definitely race around pretty good.
Were you surprised at all how wide the track got last night?
Yeah, it definitely did. It started out kind of just on the cushion, but then it moved down low in the heat races, and even from then, how fast the track was. You're racing too wide. Brandon and Scott, they had a heck of a heat race in the very first heat. And you don't normally see that at a lot of places, so that was pretty cool. And then in the feature, they came down to the line side by side, so there's not a whole much more you can ask for in the sense of a racy track. And it was fast, but it wasn't really that choppy too, so it was pretty good.
You posted on Facebook on Friday kind of a recap of your night, and you could tell the frustration. You weren't hiding anything. You're frustrated with the way your equipment is handling, mostly because you're braking so much. And that's kind of an ebb and flow of a season, right? When you're high, you've really got to gain every single point you can because there's going to be the lull.
Yeah, we've been breaking a lot of different stuff, and a lot of stuff that's really just out of our control, but that's racing. You'll have that. It's just, for us, it seems like it hit us hard and consecutive times in a row. And it really sucks because it frustrates you when you're trying to run for points, and you have a good couple weeks, you're up front, either winning race or you're top 5, top 3, and then the next race you go to, you're running up front and you break, and then it happens again and again, but I'm kind of getting used to, flip a coin, am I going to finish this race or not? But eventually our luck's going to turn around, and hopefully we can get that turned around tonight. But all in all, it's been a pretty good year. We've had a really fast car at a lot of places, and it's just, even though the results don't show it as much, I think we really got a fast car, and everything's really coming together. With me learning this rocket, I'm really looking forward to all the big races that are coming up later on in the year, and even starting tomorrow. Our heat races are tonight, so we got to make sure we're up on the wheel and our stuff's not falling apart.
That's kind of a lot of guys that, I suppose, when they're having mechanical issues like this, is it stuff that you can sit down with your crew and say, guys, we gotta circle the wagons and really go over the car. We can't have these things break. Or are they internal engine stuff that you really can't help?
A lot of the stuff has been kind of some fluke stuff. A lot of the stuff is out of our hands, really. It's hard to tell because how these cars are. They have so much power. It's just, something's got to break on them every now and then, I guess. And if you're not changing stuff all the time, or if your stuff's just a little bit old, I guess you're kind of taking that chance. But like I said, bad luck is kind of, it's a thing that eventually, I guess, turns around. You get on these streaks where you're hot and cold, and luck has a lot to do with that. I believe in it because, heck, sometimes you win races and you come across the line, something breaks. It happens a lot, or you have a flat tire at the very end of the race. And I don't know. Hopefully we just get it turned around. We really have been working our butts off. All the crew guys have, and I think a lot of the stuff's just kind of been out of our hands.
A lot of guys, when they're on a bad luck streak, they'll do some crazy stuff like shave their head. Are we going to see a bald Bobby Pierce coming up?
Oh man, I'm not gonna do the T-Mac at Eldora when he shaved his head off, but I don't know. I had some wristbands on my wrist, and I cut those off. I was like, well, maybe they're bad luck.
Yeah.
I have some things like I don't keep money in my pocket when I race. I think that's bad luck, and a lot of people are like, you can't have green on the race car. But actually, when I won the world, I had a little bit of green on the car. Mm-hmm. So maybe, we put a little bit of green tape on the car, see what happens.
Try to push it back the other direction.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the news that came out on Friday with the dirt cars. And I'm kind of confused. I live a lot in the world of here in the local scenes, so I don't follow the Lucas Oil late model guys a lot. I don't follow the big races, the Dream, the World, all those races. So kind of take us through, for those fans that are similar to me, that don't follow it on a daily basis, what happened, the penalty process, and then your appeal process.
Well, at Eldora at the Dream, one of the tires came back illegal, and right away we were like, this is wrong. So we jumped on it, and the penalty was going to be a lot of money, with your winnings and then double that. And so right away, we were trying to see what we could do to prove our innocence, I guess. And we took a lie detector test because that's what they allowed us to do, and we all passed it.
This is the part that gets me. If you'd have failed the lie detector test, do you think you could have talked him into some truth serum?
Man, it's kind of crazy, going to that far of taking a lie detector test. That's something that people do for committing a murder, I guess.
Right.
But you do what you got to do to prove your innocence, and even not that, but just to kind of have a peace of mind, to know, yeah, we didn't do anything, and then with the other tire, or with that tire that we sent off to another place, came back clean. So we did everything we could, but still there is a little bit of a fine we have to pay at the end of the day, and that's out of our hands. It's all up to World Racing Group, but at least, like I said, they gave us the opportunity to take a lie detector test. We did. We all passed. So all that's kind of, out the door now, pay the fine and be at those races one way or another. And I don't know. It's just a bad deal overall. I just don't want it to happen to anybody else because, all of our tires, I've never messed with anything. And for that to happen, I just don't want it to happen again. Some fluke deal like that to happen to me or other people. And, there's been a lot of other people that came to me about it and said, look, we just bought the tire, put it on the car, raced it, and it was illegal. So I don't know. There's something there, but I don't know if it's just the testing procedures or what, but yeah.
Is there any, because you're absolutely right. I saw your post when it came out, and you're like, I never wanted to play the conspiracy theory card, but we never did anything to our tires, and now all of a sudden we're popping illegal.
Yeah. And I don't know, it might just come down to the lab, the way they do it. Labs, search for different things in different ways, whether they, I don't know what for sure they all do, but I know that lab takes it to like another level of how much they test it. But, all that stuff is kind of, to me, I didn't really want to get wrapped up in it too much, just kind of focus on racing. And, I knew in the end it all sorted itself out. But really though, since we all passed lie detector tests and then the tire came back clean from another lab, there's not really much more we can do after that. So
do you think that vindicates you to the fans?
Yeah, I think it does. Right from the beginning, I think, mostly everybody kind of knew, we don't, that's something I've never done, but still at the end of the day, it's nice to see that and know that, look, we're right. Here it is. Here's it on paper. It's all wrote down right here that everything's clean and we all passed. So I don't know. I think I had a lot of good support from the fans, and that's one thing I definitely got to say about my fans is, all the support I get from them. It means a lot.
Yeah, they're always there for as many Facebook haters as there is, and there's always there.
Right.
That when you need your fans, they'll rally.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just one of those things where, it sucks because, like, if I were to win that race, that would have been a bad deal. Because, like I said, that's just what I'm worried about, something like that happening again, some fluke deal like that. But it is what it is, and, maybe it'll get better. They'll do something and figure out a way so it doesn't happen to anybody else.
There's got to be a way you guys can get together along with Hoosier and examine the process and say, is there a chemical at the factory that's in the air that's getting sucked into these tires when you guys are making them?
Yeah, I thought about all that sort of stuff, but, it's just I don't really know. There's not a whole lot I know about the stuff. You think, if a tire sits around for too long, maybe it loses some chemicals in the tire because it is rubber and it all. I'm not sure how it all works, but
yeah,
I'm just glad I'm out of it now.
Too,
yeah,
but you might have to come down to paying some research person to sit down and start doing a bunch of tests.
Yeah,
because we always hear about people are busy studying sleep habits, and if you have more of a chance of winning the lottery if you eat yellow M&Ms. But they can't sit around and figure out the degradation of a Hoosier tire.
Right. And one thing they could do is at a big event like the World or the Dream, take all the tires and have every single driver or team get the tires at the track.
Mm-hmm.
That way everyone's on a level playing field. No one's probably going to be messing with stuff. And if a tire comes back illegal, then, something's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you take samples from the tires before they give them to the teams? Like an A sample and then a B sample. So if I sample the tire when I give it to you, and then I sample it when I pull it off the car after the race.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how big of a chunk they take out of it. I don't know if it's just a strip or if it's...
It's just a little strip.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like a little groove in the tire just in one block. It's not very much.
Okay. All right. Well, thoughts on this weekend? We kind of talked about it a little bit. You got to get your car back in the right direction, and a big $53,000 payday would be the right way.
Oh, definitely. We're down to our last motor now, and but we're gonna run it hard, and at the end of the day, we're gonna try to win the race. So, like I say, we got our heat races today. Hopefully, we worked on the car a little bit. I think we're getting it a little bit better, and for me, just figuring this place out is gonna be key to get those laps in the heat race, and hopefully, we're not stuck in a heat with like Bloomquist and JD and Richards and Shepard and who knows who, but that's kind of one of the things with this draw deal too. It kind of comes down to that. You can be stuck in an easy heat or a super tough heat.
Right. What about we met you when you were racing for the Mittler brothers, and any options of going back up to Truck Series maybe in the next year or two? Are you working on some stuff, or you pretty content working the local dirt scenes or the national dirt scene? Excuse me.
I'd definitely like to do the Eldora truck race. I know a lot of people were like, look, it's just not the same without you there. And I'm like, well, I had a Lucas race to be at, but, Kyle Strickler and Nick Hoffman jumped in the Mittler Brothers trucks for that race, and they did a good job. And but it's definitely something I'd like to do again. We came so close the first 2 years, and then last year I got a lap down because I got involved in a wreck, got my lap back, got back up to 6 at the end, and they were all there. So every year we've been really competitive, just haven't got that first win for Mike Mittler yet. We got him his first pole that first year, so that was really exciting. But that's definitely something I'd like to do. But as far as like the asphalt stuff goes, I'm not really sure about that. It takes a lot of sponsorship to just to run one race, and I don't know, for the amount of sponsorship you can run a lot more on dirt.
Yeah.
And
that seems to be the kind of the tipping point is that I hear sponsorships for a single race can be $15,000 for a small race in a truck series, all the way up to $50,000 in a big race. And that is a huge chunk of change to lean on your sponsors and drop for one race. I mean, you really can't do much in one race. It's way too high of a level to expect to go out there and run at Atlanta, Kansas, one of the bigger mile-and-a-half tracks that take a lot of experience, drop $50,000 and go and win the race.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely kind of crazy, but there's a lot of people out there that can do it, and to them, it's good for you. And it's a difficult sport. Even though there's a lot of like younger kids in the truck series, mostly all of them, at least the ones running up front, I mean, they're great drivers. So, not taking anything away from them. They really know what they're doing. Kind of like how I've raced dirt my whole life. That's just kind of what I'm used to. And then when you get in the asphalt stuff, it's kind of it's just a different feel, and a
little bit of a fish out of water.
Yeah, and you definitely have to have some good stuff to really run for like a win in an asphalt race. Your stuff's got to be point on, and I don't know. I mean, even on dirt, now heck, running with Lucas Oil, you're running with the best of the best every single night, and that's made me a better driver. But like, if your stuff's not really good, you're probably not going to win the race. But there's all the variables on dirt. That's the good thing about racing on dirt is you got a cushion, and you got holes here and there, and got the mud line around the bottom, and all sorts of just different variables to play around with. And that experience that you get, I started racing when I was 8, and I'm 21 now, so I'm still pretty young, but I've got a lot of years racing dirt.
Yeah.
And, I'm kind of like a veteran in a way with all the years I've been doing it. So. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. 12 years into it, 13 years into it, not a lot of people do something for 13 years in their life when you think about it.
Yeah, so I mean, that's definitely something, starting young is, I say it all the time, you got to start young, and you just kind of build those skills right away, and it kind of starts to come natural to you before you know it.
Anything else you want to try to race? I know you're a big late model guy, but sprint cars, wingless, USAC, would you ever go and do something like that?
I've always wanted to do the Chili Bowl, actually.
Yeah?
I've raced a midget one time on a track the size of a basketball court. It was that deal in Indy that they had that Cody Summers put on. And, you couldn't even get on the gas at that place, so that wasn't really much of a feel for it. But, midget at the Chili Bowl is definitely something that'd be fun. I don't know about jumping in a full-blown sprint car. I mean, they're pretty dangerous. You hook tires and they go flipping, but my mom definitely probably wouldn't want me to do that.
Well, good news for you. The race down in St. Louis, they're going to have midgets there as the support class.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting to watch. I'm definitely excited for that.
All right, good luck, Bobby.
Thank you.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Today's live show on the front stretch is brought to you by Archer Purdue Auto Sales, located at 14227 S Street in Omaha and online at archerpurdue.com.
Yeah, you can go to archerpurdue.com, check out their full inventory. They've got a lot of late model used vehicles, full lot full. They're the home of the original $149 a month payment. They're located right across the street on the west side of Millard Avenue from the amazing Pizza Machine. And they are being the home of that $149 payment. That is their goal. That's what they try and do with everybody, is put you in a payment that's $150 a month.
I think I pay more for my cell phone per month than people could pay for an actual automobile, which is probably more on me.
That's why you do radio and not TV.
Get to Archer Purdue Auto Sales today, 14227 S Street in Omaha or archerpurdueauto.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
We've only got about 8 minutes left in today's show, but you are always welcome to give us a call and chime in your thoughts on the Wednesday night truck race, Thursday night Go 50, Friday night qualifying action, or Saturday night Silver Dollar Nationals feature events, 402-573-0590. Thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Today's show will be on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube, but make sure you pay close attention because the race times have moved up by 1 hour for today's race at New Hampshire due to
anticipated weather.
Right, impending storms that could be rolling through that area of the country. So make sure you get your picks in on time. The deadline to get your picks in will be updated for the season-long contest, so you want to make sure and get them in now an hour earlier than originally anticipated. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the race at New Hampshire before we give our final thoughts on Pocono. This time last year at New Hampshire, bad days for Joey Logano, who finished 37th. Kind of thumbing through these real quick as I'm off the top of my head. Ryan Newman, 27th. Casey Kane, 28th. Eric Almirola, 24th. See, most of your drivers, though, up front that you would typically see. Denny Hamlin, who ended up winning the race, finished 9th in Stage 1, 2nd in Stage 2, 51 points on the day, and he was the big points getter, although Martin Truex Jr., who won Stage 1, finished 2nd in Stage 2, was second best points getter, finishing 3rd with 49 points on the day. New Hampshire, big, wide, fast track.
Flat.
And flat.
Flat. Flat is the key.
Yeah.
But if you hit the setup, as like Jeff Burton did, he led every lap in that race. I don't remember, 2002. No, it was in the 90s, I think. It wasn't 15, 16. It was 20 years ago. Yeah, he led every lap, led the whole race.
Wow.
And been very few times that's ever happened.
That's hard to do when you've got green flag stops and pit stops. You've got to.
Well, I don't think in that particular race, I don't think they had a green flag stop.
Really?
Yeah, I think everything, a couple cautions and everything was under yellow and nobody stayed out. I mean, the cautions were spread out enough that you had to come in and get tires. There was no sense in staying out. And back then you got points for leading one lap, but there was no sense to do that when you were going to have to pit and then go to the back.
Right.
So everybody just pitted when they were able to, and the track develops a groove that's not right on the bottom. It's like a half a car up, so it's unique in that aspect. And like I said, if you hit the setup there, you can be very fast, and if you miss the setup, you can drop like a stone.
Like I mentioned, the picks are going to be due an hour earlier. They were originally due at 1 o'clock Central Time. Now that they've moved the start time up by 1 hour, all picks are going to be due by noon Central Time. So make sure you get your picks in on time and head over to Quaker Steak and Lube and enjoy the Metro's best wings, beers, burgers, and steaks while you're watching all of the action for today's race at New Hampshire.
And speaking of QSL,
a big thank you to everybody that came out for the Truck Series race, and David Ackerson, who is one of our former Iowa Speedway winners with his wife Tara, and actually won this time, trying to figure out if he's going to be able to use the tickets or if he's going to send them down the line because they're on vacation this coming weekend. But thank you so much to David for coming out. I believe he brought his son too, and we all had a great time.
Well, it was his daughter, and I do believe that was a young lady that was with him. And a special thank you for him for covering our check for the evening.
Yeah.
That was a surprise. But I did see David on my way into the radio show this morning, and he's actually working. So I don't know what kind of vacation you call that. I've heard of a staycation where you just don't do nothing.
Not right now. He's this coming weekend, the Iowa Speedway weekend, where he was supposed to go over to Iowa Speedway and enjoy a couple of days away.
Because I've never heard of a workation.
Well, welcome to my life. I took vacation this week to go work at I-80.
To be a cornhole judge.
It's tough. It's a tough life I live. All right. Anyways, thank you to everybody who came down to Quaker Steak and Live on Wednesday. I'm going to get final thoughts on the Silver Dollar Nationals. Well, we got about a minute for you.
Well, one thing, a friend of mine owns a place called Auto Time, and he's an old racer, and he was wanting to know how fast these guys go. So what he did for the wonderful people here at this radio show, the wonderful people at Auto Time, bought us a radar gun. So I spent a good half hour getting pelted by dirt from the racetrack from these crazy cars, and I stood down in turn 3 last night and did a bunch of radar guns. To me, the impressive part, top speed that we had was during hot laps for the feature cars. Hudson O'Neal topped out at 115, but the cars would come out of turn 2 at roughly 72, 73 miles an hour, and they would pick up 40 miles an hour down the back straightaway. Jesus. And that, to me, that was really amazing because I figured with the gearing these cars run, they're deep enough geared that 25 to 30 miles an hour would be the top. And everybody that I talked to, I went around and told some of the guys their mile per hour and stuff, and they thought that part was pretty amazing too, that it would pick up 40 miles an hour. But thank you to Auto Time for the gun. We're going to take it over to Newton. And see if we can play a little bit over there. But the real interesting test is hopefully we'll put it to work in September at Knoxville for the late models, and we can compare the two speedways a little bit.
That'll be awesome. And my final thoughts, I working behind the scenes, it's amazing everything that goes into the Silver Dollar Nationals, and it's really a beautiful thing to watch this little weekly dirt track that I get to play at every Friday night. I get to be a minuscule part of it, turn into such a a huge event for the 3-day weekend, or the 3 days of the Silver Dollar Nationals. My hat's off to Joe, Steve, Bob, Grace, Trish, Shelly, Lisa. Lisa doesn't get near enough credit for everything that she does. It's hard enough dealing with Joe and Steve, and then she's helping to run a racetrack. So
she got to deal with Lee too.
Yeah, and that woman deserves a Purple Heart. Speaking of Lee Ackerman, but my hat's off to the entire crew out there. Everything went off great this weekend. We've only had a couple of crazies that have complained, and when you read the complaint, you're like, all right, come on. Come on. Let's bring it down a little bit.
You're even saying that?
I apologize that your toilet overflowed in Virginia, but that's not actually I-80's fault. Okay. But anyways, my hat's off to everybody. It's such a week. And in the next couple of weeks, if you happen to see a Kaziski, thank them, because they put in a lot of time and effort, and they don't get enough thank yous.
And Steve's track prep was awesome.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you to everybody that tunes in and supports the front stretch, comes out to the dirt track, says hi to us, buys a hat. We have given some great things in the line. We're working with Jim Blazina, the racing realtor, to work out some deals to get some more merchandise coming. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back next weekend to do it all over again. This has been the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you white knuckle racing by the river bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.